Serving up at the breakfast buffet, we have another fellow NYU grad, Jasneel, a product and marketing manager at Coupa Software. Learn about his story and journey. Also, learn about the little tips that you could use on LinkedIn to help further your profile. I hope you all will enjoy.
Do it! Made Jazz a call. Major decision, 14-4.
And here we are. We got my friend Jasneel, another fellow NYU alumni. He's now working at a tech company, marketing for Coupa, right? I got that right?
Coupa. That's right.
Coupa. Gotta say it 3 times.
Yes, sir.
Right from California, right there. Look at that Cali sun right there. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. How are you? Great to reconnect.
No, definitely. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah.
It's been about 2 years, right?
I think so, man. Almost. Yeah. I know you graduated 2018, right?
Yes,
so yeah, I was 1 year after. Yeah, man. So 2 years. Time
Good.
flies.
Good old sports management. We had some great
Yes,
classes.
sir.
Yeah, working.
Oh, that was a great
For
program.
the WNBA. Having Professor Hollander.
Oh my God, legend, absolute legend. I loved Hollander.
Got to go to the WNBA draft, man. We killed it. We killed it.
Oh yeah. We should have won that project, but
Should have won that project, and we'll get into that later, man. We had one of the best marketing ideas ever for the WNBA All-Star game, man.
Yep.
So what's up? What's up, my man? How's how's your new career at fresh? Was it you're a year been working for a year now working for Coupa?
Yep. Yeah, man, it's been good. After I graduated last May, I wanted to just take some time off. I hadn't really had a free summer since my sophomore year of high school. I had been doing internships every single summer since then, right? So it was nice to just have some time to chill. Got to spend time with family, with friends. Got to go to Europe. Backpack through there, which was a lot of fun. Cool experience. Wow. Staying in hostels. Meeting a bunch of new people and just experiencing new cultures, right? And it's kind of crazy that 1 year later we can't even travel anywhere now. So I'm glad that I got that trip in.
You did it at the right time. I'm sure we'd definitely love to touch on that, backpacking through Europe.
Yeah, man.
But that's amazing. You had internships since a sophomore year in high school?
Yeah. So kind of being here in the Bay Area, right? Kind of we're taught from very early on that to get into some of the best colleges, you need to have work experience, you got to have internship experience, right? So for my high school, they really helped us to try to find, okay, what are some of your interest areas? What kind of work would you potentially want to be doing, once you're older? And based on that, helping to find you some good internships. So it's funny, actually, I thought I wanted to become a doctor back then. So I did an internship at Stanford Medical School my sophomore summer of high school in like the surgery area, right? So I got to kind of observe how heart surgeries are done, how various other kinds of, those kinds of things are done. And what I realized was, oh my God, this is not for me. I used to feel really, really queasy just seeing blood and seeing them, trying to suture up a heart and open heart surgery. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is an awesome profession, but this is not for me. So, that was, I guess, it was like a positive, bad experience. If that's,
you hit it early. I mean, sophomore year high school, you hit it early. What a time! That's great.
And it's funny because in my family, I have a lot of aunts and uncles who are doctors, so it just was kind of like a natural thing. Okay, you should just kind of explore that field, right? See if it's interesting for you. And I was like, if I'm going to go through all that schooling, right, and kind of all of that hard work, I want to make sure it's something that I'm really passionate about, right? So once I realized, probably the medical field isn't for me, I knew, okay, well, my other passion is business, right? And especially I love sports. For me, kind of growing up being a sports fan, I always like to look just beyond, okay, who's winning, who's losing, and like the stats. For me, it was like, oh my God, on the court, I'm seeing, all these sponsors on there, right? I'm kind of seeing these athletes, they're trying to become brands, right? Whether it's on social media or with all their sponsorship deals and stuff. So I was like, you know what? That aspect of sports is really cool. Like what's going on kind of, what we're not seeing on like ESPN, right? What's going into all these player contracts, their salaries, right? How are these teams kind of making money? How are they spending money? So I was really fascinated by all of that. So I was like, you know what, it'd be kind of cool to maybe do something, in sports and like sports business, right? So that's kind of how I found this program, NYU, right? Kind of doing my research. And I actually came out to visit, got to meet some of the deans and, some of the fellow students. I was like, you know what, this is perfect for me. I'm going to be in NYC, right, which will be a nice big change. All the major sports leagues are there. And honestly, like after being born and raised in California, I wanted to get as far away as possible for a bit. Like go
See,
and explore.
we had a lot of Cali kids, a lot of Florida guys come to NYU. I'm like, why would you leave the nice weather, man? You got to get a winter jacket. I would tell my roommate.
I was just, sick of, okay, it's always nice weather. I want to experience like the winters. I want to be in a big city. I was kind of in the small town my whole life, right here in California. And I have a bunch of family out there on the East Coast. So every time I'd go visit, we'd always go to the Big Apple and I'd be like, wow, like I love the city. It's a city
Yeah,
that never sleeps. It'd be kind of cool to, maybe spend some time here, right? And I
yeah,
figured, okay, well, NYU, you can't really beat that.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And what I realized in college was like a lot, like New York and New Jersey, we have all 4 seasons. I did, it took me to realize it's like not a lot of places have all 4 seasons.
We don't.
Yeah. So yeah. So go.
It's kind of cool to experience the snow, experience,
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah. How was dealing with that first year there? Just, developing into the new city, just going from high school to college. How was that adaptation for you?
Yeah, man, it's tough. I mean, that was the furthest I had ever been from home, right? And obviously, big city, brand new climate, right? I think it was tough, but I tried to stay positive throughout all of it. I knew kind of like going into it, okay, it's not going to be what I've, done in my past or what I'm used to, right? I knew it was going to be kind of a change. And so I kind of just went in, with that mindset of, okay, just try to embrace it, right? Even when it's tough, that's all part of the experience. Don't try to get too down about it.
Hmm.
Right. So I think, yeah, for me, the hardest part was like, obviously, yeah, the snow and trying to find a winter coat and like buying gloves and boots. Like I had never really
Right.
owned many of those things before. Right. So kind of getting used to that. And also just the culture, right, of people, right? Like here on the West Coast, obviously, in my opinion, people were a little bit more friendly, a little warmer, right? Kind of like that West Coast culture. And kind of
Yeah.
going to the East, it was a big shift for me, not
Yeah.
having experienced that before. But I wouldn't say it was a bad thing. Obviously, people
No.
in the East
Yeah.
Coast are awesome as well. People are very nice too, but it was like just a different way of dealing with
Yeah.
people, right? So,
Definitely navigating
well,
through the subways, making your classes
oh
on
my
time.
gosh, yeah, yeah. Those first couple of weeks, man, running
Yeah.
the class, making it just on time, that
Yeah.
was fun.
Getting your New York City pace going. You learn how to really
Yes,
walk
sir.
fast, huh?
Exactly, exactly. Great, great exercise for sure.
Yeah. So you went into NYU knowing you wanted to get through the sports management program, correct?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Which is the same thing I was. A lot of people in our program came from different areas. And
Yeah,
y-
yeah.
what
No, for sure. I think, like for me, right, as I would just talked about a little bit earlier, like the whole sports business side of things for me was really interesting, and I thought, I'm not going to be a pro athlete, but why don't I try to get into sports, through this angle, right, through like
Right.
business? And I always knew that, I wanted to do something in life that I liked, right? And
Mhm.
for me, it was always like the business side of things, right? So whether it was sports or whether it was even tech, for example, right? Like that
Yeah.
was kind of interesting for me too. But I thought, at this program, right, the kind of experiences I'll have, the people I'll meet, the classes I'll take, and also just being in the Big Apple and being able to, see what's happening, right?
Yeah,
Whether it's
seeing
on like Wall Street or whether it's, at MSG or one of these big
yeah.
sports things, right? I kind of got exposure to all sides of business, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and what's great about, us going to NYU, you could see everything's connected, right? Like you touched on Wall Street, the marketing, the ads, everything is right there. And a lot of things they harped on in our classes was everything around the sports, the ads, the TV, the networking, and they really kept us up to date on
Yep.
everything that's even like kind of happening now with the network deals and even
Exactly.
now
Yeah.
with them adapting to COVID and having no live audience, right?
Yep.
There's still
Yep. It's
sponsorships,
crazy.
there's still TV deals, right? And we kind of learned about all that, the different things college athletes getting paid. We touched on all that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Some awesome conversations. I think what was really cool was like our teachers, right, were actually people in the field, right?
Yeah,
Most of them, had day jobs, working team contracts or player
yeah,
salaries or managing, these really, really cool things. So they would bring those experiences to class, right? And we really got that real life exposure, that up to date exposure to things that perhaps maybe weren't going to be touched in the media yet, but we got to
yeah,
talk about that, which is really cool.
yeah. And yeah, like you're right. And they were honest with us about the career, right? They said you
Exactly.
got to take risks, you got to study, you got to make your connections, right? And it really wasn't that much test based our program, but it was just knowledge and applying the knowledge,
Fine.
right?
Exactly. And that's what I love too. I think especially now what I've seen after working for a year, right, is like exams, right? I mean, yeah, it's a way to test, but you don't really have exams in that sense in the real world, right? It's
Yeah.
okay, you learn something, how do you apply it to a problem that you're facing, right? How do you solve a challenge? How do you present to the board of some organization, right? So I think for us, having those as like our assignments, right, which is more like presentation based, more kind of, okay, how do we solve a challenge, right? That definitely helped me. I kind of shaped my mindset. So, how do you do well once you're, out of school?
Yeah. And we had some really cool professors, man. We had what? Did you have Professor Khan too?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh
Really,
man.
really interesting class, man. Learned a lot. I mean, for the guy being a former GM, right? Just
Yeah.
hearing his experiences and kind of what he had to deal with, that was really, really cool.
Yeah, he was the GM, was he for the Timberwolves? What
Timberwolves, yeah,
Timberwolves,
yeah.
yeah.
So this was like around the era when Steph Curry was being drafted and stuff, right? And
He passed up on
uh,
Steph Curry.
passed up on
I
Steph
know a
Curry.
lot
So
of
it's funny,
people.
he did touch on that right in class, and it was kind of cool to see. You just never know, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
can have all of the data, all the stats in front of you, right? But at the end of the day, right, you make the best choice that you can based on what's in front of you, and you just never know, right, what's going to
Yeah.
happen. So I think that was cool to kind of see that there's no surefire bet in sports, right?
Yeah.
For anything, whether it's drafting or signing a player or making some kind of sponsorship deal, you just don't know, right? But it's
Yeah.
how do you kind of get into that situation? What kind of metrics do you look at, and how do you make the best choice
Yeah,
from
that's
there?
what he talked about, right? He talked about the statistics that he looked on. That was another big thing they touched on was the
Yeah,
stat based that sports teams were
big
going
data,
by.
right?
Yeah, big
Yep.
data. Yeah,
Analytics, yeah, and I think that was an awesome skill for them to focus on, because in any job that you get into, right, whether or not you end up staying in sports, you go somewhere else, like being able to analyze data, being able to understand what the data means, right, being able to kind of just go, higher than, okay, here's some kind of stat of a player, right? I think that's really important, and it's a really crucial skill for anything, really.
yeah. And then even when I think when I had him as a professor, he was just getting into the G League, right? It was
Yeah,
when they
yeah,
signed that big deal with
that big
Gatorade, and
deal.
I think he
Yep.
owns a G League team, doesn't
He
he?
does, I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it was cool to see, how for just for basketball especially, right, how kind of that impact doesn't have to be just at the pro level. It's even how do you grow the game, right? And that was cool to kind of see that he found that niche where he can really have an impact to help grow the game, so that these players are well prepped once they make it up to the actual teams from the
right.
G League.
Yeah. So who was one of your favorite professors, and what kind of what was the best knowledge you got from them?
Yeah, man, I mean, our program had so many awesome professors. I think one that really stood out to me and who really kind of helped guide my, focus and, kind of how I look at the world in terms of sports and business, David Hollander, for
Yeah.
sure. I think, just his insight, right? The way he approaches things, his level of, just his insight into the industry, I thought was really interesting. And, like for me, I got to also experience him in the classroom and in clubs and activities. He was in the dorm founders hall as like the faculty, right, who like lives
Yeah.
in the dorm, and I got to be in that dorm my freshman year. I was living there, so I got to kind of experience him from that angle, right? And then just through other clubs and activities. So I think just having that exposure to him both in the classroom and outside of the classroom was really, really interesting for me. And the class that he taught, his whole focus was, okay, we got to go above and beyond just the professor giving a talk, right? We need to
Right.
get these kids into the industry. We need to be working with these leagues, with these teams. And he's the one who started that program, right? Real
Hmm.
world class, as he calls it, right? I mean, I thought that was amazing. And for me, that's exactly what I was looking for. Like, okay, what classes can I take where I'm actually building hard skills I can use, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm actually making contacts that I can use once it's time to get into like the workforce. So, I mean, him starting that program, right, was, I think, huge. And now we're seeing, right, he's getting press all over the country.
Yep.
NY Times, and he has all these, it's really cool to see how it's grown. But I think for me, that's why he really was my favorite, is just kind of seeing his insight into the industry, him being able to kind of have that foresight that, okay, this is what this program needs to be kind of going forward, and just taking the lead on that.
Yeah, and he's a straight shooter. Like I said, the honesty factor in
Oh,
him.
bullshit.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep. And that's why my favorite class was that WNBA class, and it was challenging for me because I'm a wrestler, so I don't really watch basketball in general. And he
Got it.
challenged me to take this class because it was female basketball, right?
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
other way to challenge yourself and really learn how to promote in something that you really not familiar with, taking you out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
For sure. And I thought that class was great because, it wasn't just all girls taking it, right? There was also a bunch of guys. So I think the kinds of conversations that we had, at least for me, being, I guess I was a sophomore at that time, right? were really insightful. Just understanding, okay, like for female sports, how much it's growing, right? What are some of the areas where it can still improve, right?
Mhm.
And what can we do as budding sports pros, right? Like how can we kind of come in and really add impact? So
Yeah.
it was an awesome
And
experience.
it helped them out because it was like, how can they market towards us, right?
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
guys. Yeah. And then they
I know
split
it's
us
funny
up.
because that was a big principle, right? That we learned in class was like, okay, for these leagues, right? Whether it's the NBA or whether it's any big league, right? How do you get fans who'll stay for life, right? And
Right.
I think the crucial point there is trying to get them early on, trying to get them young, right? So exactly, for these organizations to be open to partnering up with a school, right, to do projects, I think that's really cool because it also gives them some insight into, okay, how do we think? What do we purchase? How do we spend money, right? And based on that, they can really shape their own marketing plans or how they want to run their league.
Yeah. And what was cool is we had Lisa Borders on. She was
Yeah,
in our class almost all the
Lisa was
time.
amazing. Oh my,
Yeah.
she's also right,
Yeah.
total straight shooter. Like
Yeah.
she told us just how it is, right? And I thought it was cool to have like someone that high up, right,
Yeah,
in the
commissioner.
league.
Who else has a
Insightful.
commissioner of a whole entire sports league in their class
Mhm.
daily, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And we also, I think I had what's her name, Val, right?
Yeah.
Ackerman. She was
Yeah.
the Big Ten commissioner too,
Yeah.
right? So just
Yeah.
having that kind of insight and that kind of exposure to these high level
Yeah.
executives, I mean, that
And even
was
the
that was so
ESPN
cool.
analyst, what was her name? Fate was her name
That's
Fagan, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it
Yeah.
was it was awesome, man. I mean, I think for me as a fan, that's where like the fan side of me kind of came out too in that class. Like, oh my god, we're able to see these top level folks. It's cool.
Yeah. And then the fill-in people, the objective of the class was to promote and raise awareness and market their All-Star game, which was
Yeah,
in
yeah. That was the 2017 All Star game, right in Seattle.
Seattle. Yeah.
Yep,
So
yep.
our plan, right? They split us up into three different groups. It was an
Teams,
all
yep,
girls group, an all guys group, and then a
and
mixed group, which is
mixed.
very,
Yep,
actually pretty good,
really
plan
interesting.
right
Yeah,
there. Yeah. It was they're like kind of testing us within the whole group to see who would do better.
yep, exactly.
Yeah. And and it was try to get, what was our first plan was to the court design, right? Would you see a lot now?
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I think for us, it was like, okay, how do we do something that's kind of different from what's been done before, right? How do we get more younger fans kind of engaged, right? So we thought, okay, what if we gave fans like the ability to kind of pick a court theme, right, for the All-Star game, and maybe like every half they change out that court or something, right?
Yeah.
And it's like fan contest, right? So
Yeah.
fans
Or
they'll
even
submit
targeting,
entries.
right? It started with targeting the cities and maybe local
Yeah,
artists in certain cities
artists
that
exactly.
WNBA teams were at, get
Yeah,
people to rally up and design. I think it was design a court for the All-Star game and also for their own team, right?
teams exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, we thought it was pretty interesting. Obviously, it was hard to run with that idea given just it's very very difficult to change a court, right?
Yeah.
You have to get all kinds of things done from the league and trying to actually build a court and all that. And I think we also had an idea of maybe just doing it through some sort of like virtual platform. You don't have to
Yeah.
actually physically put it on the court. And now we're seeing, I mean,
You
NBA
see it all
bubble,
the
right?
time. Yeah.
That's what they're doing. It's all holograms.
Yeah. We're ahead of the game there.
Exactly.
And then they made us change it, and then we came up with the ice cream. Hashtag ice cream for ice cream. Because they kind of wanted,
That's right.
yeah, they wanted to make it more of a social media type thing, right? Yeah.
Yep, yep. Yeah, and that was cool because I think the ice cream sponsor we chose, remember, was like it was run by all females too, right?
Mm.
So kind of just having that element of right, how do you help these kind of businesses, right? Like who are being run by all women, right? How do you help them to kind of keep growing? And we
And
thought like
expand the audience. Yeah.
exactly like this kind of partnership could be something really interesting for both the league and for the ice cream business, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and Hollander was big with get creative, get creative. And we had all these great ideas about, going to local cities, having the players there, playing like exhibition games with the kids or, anyone in the area. I think that would have been really cool if they actually did
That would
that.
have been awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool, right? I mean, just being pushed by him and by the other folks in the class, right? Like, how do we keep on innovating, right? Like, just
Right.
keep pushing. Like, if we thought we had a good idea, okay, how can we take it one step further, right?
Right.
And I think being pushed in that area really really helps. Especially after college, once you're at work, right? When you're trying to figure out, okay, how do we come up with some sort of answer to a challenge that we're facing, right? You got to keep pushing, right? And I
Yeah.
think being kind of told that in that class, right? That folk that kind of forced us to be on our toes the whole time. That was
Yeah.
really insightful.
Yeah, creative and looking into different markets. Like we had to look at different artists, local artists in the area, local different ice cream brands that are nationwide, maybe local
Hmm.
wide, right? Like looking
Yep.
into the ice cream marketing business. It
Exactly.
really, and that's what sports is all about. Thinking
Yeah.
about different advertisements, how they could become part of the team in the city, right?
Exactly, exactly. How do you get them to be kind of, part of the like that larger picture, right? That okay, it's not just about us, it's about everybody in the city. It's about every part of the city, right?
Yeah, building that team pride, that team camaraderie,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. So, graduating, right? You graduated last year.
Yeah.
How was that transition going in from, college to the city to moving back home?
Hmm.
I know your LinkedIn is set up pretty well. Can you give anyone
Thank you.
some LinkedIn tips? I know that's super important.
Yeah.
Kids in
No,
college,
for sure.
they don't understand the value of networking and just adding your
Exactly.
professors on LinkedIn, reacting with them. It's one thing to set up a LinkedIn, but
Hmm.
posting, looking at your professor stuff, making connections.
Yeah, no, for sure. You said it perfectly. I mean, having all of your updates on that profile, right, is so important. And I think for me, it really hit home my senior year of high school. So, while I was applying to colleges and stuff, like teachers and all of them would tell us, this is a really, really important platform to have. My dad also told me he's big in the tech industry here in the Bay Area. So just saying, start to build up your profile as early as possible, right? And kind of put all of those key accomplishments that you have, things that you're doing, right? Posting, engaging with content on the platform, I think is really important. And for me, like what I did was as soon as, I thought there was something interesting that I did, a class I took or a job experience I had, or I just put it on there, right?
Yeah,
And you try to be as honest and straight up about it. But it's not just about okay, trying to brag, right? I think a lot
yeah,
of people they kind of get confused. Okay, this is a platform to be bragging about yourself. No,
yeah,
right? That's not the goal. It's really to try to help others to learn from you and for you to learn from others,
yeah.
right?
Give
I think that's
feedback.
kind of where I saw
Yeah,
value.
the most
Exactly.
important one. I know. One of our professors always puts up stuff and always asks questions. What do you guys think? What's the insight here?
Hmm.
How should they move forward? And I think that's very interesting because you get all
Exactly.
these different minds just giving their opinion on
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. And I think it's really an awesome place to learn, right? Because some of the biggest challenges that we're facing in business or in the world, right? People will be posing questions on there. People will be sharing, okay, I've done this research. I've been working on this project. What do you guys think, right? So I mean, me personally, I've learned so much about sports, about tech, about business, right? Just kind of going in there, right? Like just seeing what people are posting, sharing stuff myself, right? I think it's really an awesome platform, but you really have to understand, what it's for and really make sure that, you're kind of also adding to it and
Yeah.
not just taking, right?
Yeah, what I think right now, it's like even the stuff I worked on in college, I could have put that on LinkedIn and get different feedback, maybe improve on certain
Yeah,
areas, right? We had so
yeah.
many projects that we probably could have done that with, right?
I know, exactly, exactly. But
Yeah,
yeah, I would just say, for folks who are trying to get more active on there, I mean, for things that you've been doing, right? Making sure that okay, if you're talking about some kind of internship that you had or a class that you took, right? Just including in there, okay, what was one or two or three interesting things that you did there, right? What are some of the things that you accomplished? If it's, you helped your team to build out something, right? Or you worked on this project that helped the team to increase revenue, right? Kind of saying those things. Don't just talk about, okay, here's what the company does, and this was what my title was. Kind of really try to go into depth and say, okay,
yeah,
here's two or three things that I did that were really, really impactful, and here's kind of what I learned from them, right?
yeah,
Then even more so like than that, right? For fields that you're interested in, right? Let's say, for example, you're someone who's really into like sales or like marketing, right? Kind of sharing content of articles that you read, or maybe you publish something about that space, right? Just kind of using that platform to kind of give back as well.
yeah, definitely. It's the professional platform, you
Yes,
know.
sir.
So getting into, the product marketing at this tech company, how did you get
Sure.
positioned into that?
Yeah, man. So I think for me, as I went through my 4 years of college, right, I kind of had some awesome experiences, doing different types of work in sales, in marketing, biz dev, right? So where I really kind of found my passion and what, I was really interested by was product marketing and just that whole area in general, right? Like how do you market something that you're selling, right? How do you market, right? What the company's focus, is, and I think for that field of marketing, right, it's so broad, right? It can include so many things. So for me, it was just that idea that okay, there's so much here. That's what really was cool for me, So through my internships, most of my roles were in that field, right? And then for this company, I'm at now, right? I did an internship with them the summer of 2018, right? And that's where I really got to see kind of, oh wow, this is how the tech space works, right? What is sports tech, right?
Right.
I think that's also a really, really big area right now. And for me, it was kind of a chance to put both of those passions together, right? And kind of
Yeah.
work and kind of learn and grow. What I was told by quite a few teachers and, friends and stuff was that, out of college, right, that first job, the most important part is, okay, trying to learn, right? Trying to
Hmm.
pick up as many new skills as possible, and also trying to meet as many people as possible, right? I
Right.
think if you can do those two things in that first job, you'll be set, for life pretty much, right? And I think it's in that first job where you really find, okay, in this particular field, here is exactly where my interest is, right?
Hmm.
I know, okay, I've met X, Y, and Z, and now, now I kind of understand, okay, what their life journey is, how they got to where they are, right? I can kind of plan out what I want to do, So
Right.
for me, I think, you know, coming back to the Bay Area, right, and kind of being in like the heart of technology, right, Silicon Valley, I thought, this is a great place for me to really build skills in that area of product marketing, right? Kind of learn from the best and the brightest minds here, right, and
Yeah.
really combine my passion for both tech and sports. Because for Coupa, we have clients that are in the sports industry, right? Whether it's MSG or the Knicks, or we have customers who are actually part of our platform right now, right? So kind of seeing that element of it, but also seeing the tech element of it. I think
Right.
I definitely want to get back, into sports, like kind of more in like a team level. In the future. But for me, like right now, the key is, okay, I want to build my skills in this area of marketing. Once I kind of feel that I have that skill set down, right, it's just a matter of, okay, I'm selling a sports product versus more of a tech product.
Right. Definitely. So what's your day to day? What was your day to day before, and then now, of course, the pandemic. What's your day to
Yeah,
day like now?
it changes things, man. I mean, I started exactly 1 year ago now, right? So when I was starting out, I mean, the first couple of months we were really just kind of learning and like growing.
Hmm.
What was cool about this role, it wasn't just like a typical like post college first job kind of role. They kind of put me in a little bit more of a senior position, just given that I had been with the company before, and this team was kind of growing really, really fast. So the goal obviously was, within like 1 to 2 years, I'd, start to manage my own team here, right? And, the process from day one was, okay, how do I get myself up to speed so that I can do that come the 1 or like 2 year mark, So just learning about all the different products that we offer, right? Kind of learning about, okay, which product is tailored to which industry, right? So
Hmm.
for Coupa, the cool thing is, we sell basically our platform really to any industry, right? It can be healthcare, banking, sports, right? Because the goal of our company is to help other organizations save money using our
Right.
cloud platform, right? So optimizing the value of every dollar that you spend. That's basically kind of our pitch,
Yep.
So, and that's really cool for me because, it's not just the slogan that can be applied to tech companies, right? We can be applying it to anyone, right?
Right.
So just seeing that we have a base of customers from all kinds of industries, right? Whether it's a company making, $1 billion in sales to $5 million, right? Like big and small, So it was cool to kind of just really dive deep and, see what those target markets are, what the audience is, right? And then based on that, kind of figuring out, okay, from my point of view, right, in product marketing, how do we tailor that message to those industries?
Yeah.
So, those were the first couple of months. And then, now obviously with the pandemic, right, it's kind of changed to now all work from home. But, we're still doing really, really well as a company, man. I mean, I
Hmm.
think when COVID started, our stock price had, dropped all the way down to like $94 a share. And
Hmm.
just like last week, we hit 350,
Wow.
So, this is actually a pretty good time for us because in a crisis like this, right, organizations are trying to save money as much as possible, right?
Hmm.
And, if we can help them do that, that's good value
Fantastic.
for
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That's awesome. So what are you probably study the analytics. What are some things that you study and look into with these companies?
Yeah, man. So I mean, kind of like those key metrics that we look at is, okay, how much are they doing in sales, right?
Hmm.
Who are kind of like their target markets, right? So, like, for example, if it's like some kind of company in sports, right? Who are they selling to? Is this a sports team that we're going to be partnering with? Is this more of like a sports marketing group, right? What do they do, right? So really trying to understand, okay, here is like what they do. Here's what their sales numbers are. Here is, where are some of the areas that they can be saving money, right? Where are some of the areas where perhaps, overall they've been kind of lax or kind of lazy on their spend, right? So once
Hmm.
we have kind of those points in tow, we can go back and look, okay, well, here's the products that we offer, right? Maybe there's a potential fit here, right? And that's like the really cool part of it is, we kind of come back to them with an entire tailored package of, okay, here is exactly how we can help you, down to, okay, here is how much we can estimate you'll save per year using Coupa's platform, right?
Right.
And I think that's really what sets us apart is, usually companies will have one or two products and it's just standard for everybody, right? And there's not much of like that tailored aspect of it. And that's really what, people like is, okay, they want to feel like, okay, this is being made especially for me, right? And I think that's what we do pretty well.
Definitely making it personable. So,
Exactly.
you touched on this before, backpacking through Europe, man. You were a busy guy since your sophomore year in high school. How
Yes,
was that?
sir.
What made you decide to just backpack in Europe and stay in these
Yeah.
hostels, all that? What kind of
Yeah,
country?
yeah, man. I mean, I definitely wanted to do a big trip through Europe. That was like kind of on my bucket list for a long time, and just it's hard to have time like a month to just go travel, right? So what I had been doing is I had been saving up for my internships and stuff, right? And from some other jobs that I had. And, I started planning this in the spring of my senior year, right, of college. Okay, here's where I want to go. Here are some of the key cities. How much time do I have, right? So that was really the key factors. Once you start working, you get so busy, right? Between the every day, right? Years go by like seconds, right? And it's very hard to find time like to take a month off and just go travel, right? So I feel, this is really the best time to do it. I mean, I'm not doing any kind of internship this summer, right? And I should really just, take some time back and just chill. And, really my family was also kind of really pushing for that. Just try to take it easy, just enjoy these next couple of months before you start working because, life will get busy, right?
Yes.
So that was kind of my reason. And man, it was awesome. I went to, a bunch of different cities. I mean, Scotland, London, Berlin, Prague, Munich. It was like this long list, taking trains and staying in hostels and just, meeting people from different backgrounds, right? Just seeing, okay, other kids who just recently graduated college, or some kids who had just started college, right? Or, people who were in their mid 20s, right? So just kind of seeing, what different types of walks of life they come from, right? What their like, their overall life is like, and being able to share, what my life is like, right? And just
Right.
seeing, okay, we all come from like different places, right? But we all share similar experiences, right? So that was really, really cool and kind of made me, see that, wow, like I would love to perhaps work maybe in some other country in the future, right? Kind of go and explore, I don't know, Asia or Europe or somewhere like that.
Yeah. What was your favorite country and city, and how was it just traveling with these trains and
Yeah.
staying at these hostels? What was that like?
Yeah, yeah. So obviously for the hostels, some were kind of shady, some were nice, right? So obviously there's that element of, okay, you're staying in a room with a bunch of random people, right?
Yeah.
What's gonna happen, right? And I think it was just mainly, just making sure to be safe, but also, not like worrying too much. I mean, what I realized was that a lot of people were there for the same reason, which was to explore and to travel, right? And like
Yeah.
everyone's looking to meet people. So it was actually very, very easy to just strike up a conversation and you're having breakfast with someone and okay, you end up spending like the next couple of days with a different group, right? And you guys go out and travel together and see things together. So that's what I really enjoyed was like you didn't have to plan too much. Things
Yeah.
kind of just worked themselves out, which was
Right.
nice. And I'm someone who likes to plan things out like to
Yeah.
the, minute detail. So for me, it was like, okay, I kind of got stressed like shit, I don't have a plan, like what's gonna happen, right? But it just kind of worked itself out. And it was fun. Got to see some awesome monuments and different types of cool places, eat some awesome food. I think for me, my favorite city, Berlin, for sure. I had never been, to that part of the
Uh-huh.
world before, and obviously, knowing the history, right, of what kind of went down in the 19th century, and after that, I mean, I love world history, right? So I had studied about World War II, right, what had
Right.
happened, right? So just being able to go to those monuments and those sites, where all that stuff happened, and kind of seeing how far the country has come since then, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
a beautiful country, man. Like Berlin is probably one of my favorite cities in the whole world. Just
Yeah.
their like culture of art and food and like the party culture too. Apparently, it's like one of the party capitals of Europe.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and got to also take a tour to BMW's factory. Like that's their headquarters, right? So got
Yeah.
to kind of see how, and obviously I'm a big car guy, so it was cool for me to kind of see, how they make it, right? Going to tour and seeing, their history and like all of that. So it's funny, that kind of sold me. Okay, when it's time for me to buy a car, it's got to be a BMW.
There you go.
So
You
that was
saw it
fun.
firsthand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that's interesting. I mean, we wrestled in Munich with the wrestling team, and
Oh,
Munich
sick.
was such a different They were talking about how Munich is like Bavaria and how like they had like a rivalry
Yeah.
with Berlin. And what was
Yep.
the difference? Because you went to Munich too. What was the big difference that you saw there?
For Munich, I would say, there's more nature, I think. I did like a lot of like nice hikes and stuff. Obviously, it's a very, very big city as well, but there's a lot more of like the old history
Yeah.
still there. For like, for Berlin in general, it was more rebuilt after World War II and even after that, right? So you see a lot more modern architecture, right? Like modern monuments. So I think, they're very similar, but also they were kind of different in that sense. And also just culture wise, right? I didn't notice it to be as big of a party town, right? It was
Hmm.
more kind of quieter town, but definitely some more history to it, perhaps.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. And what a time for you to go. I mean, a year later, you can't even travel like we were saying before. Yeah.
And I was telling my friends who, you know, we had gone together on this trip, right? Like, oh my God, guys, I'm so glad that we did this
We
last
did
year.
this. Yeah.
No, now, right? When's the next time you can take a month-long trip in a foreign country?
Yeah. And you being from Cali, so how are the wildfires out there? It's
Yeah,
crazy,
man,
right?
it's pretty scary. I was like born and raised here, right? And growing up, we never really had any like wildfire scares. I mean, they happen every now and then, but it was never to the scale that we're seeing now. And actually, it was pretty scary a couple weeks ago. The fires got pretty close to my house, so we almost had to leave. And thankfully we didn't have to. But just a lot of my friends in this area also, have been kind of on edge, right? So it's just like you can't control it, right? You just feel
Hmm.
kind of like, wow, okay, no matter how much I do and how much I prep, right? You just never know,
Never
So
know.
it's definitely very, very scary, man, and definitely goes to show you, right? The climate change is a serious issue, and we really need to kind of be taking steps now going forward to really, solve it, right? Trying to figure out, okay, how do we try to minimize that impact, right, of these wildfires? Because these fires will keep happening, but they don't have to be as bad as they are now, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
So it definitely was like this big wake up call. I mean, you probably saw on social media a couple weeks ago, like the sky was completely orange
Yeah. My buddy was sending me
here
pictures.
in the
That's
Bay
crazy.
Area. It was crazy, man. I woke up that morning like, wow, like, am I still dreaming? What the hell is happening, right?
Yeah.
And pretty
That's
crazy.
crazy, just the difference between the East Coast and West Coast. Like we have hurricanes and we
Yeah,
never think
yeah,
about wildfires, but over there you have earthquakes and these
yeah, man.
wildfires and everything. You guys had
That's
earthquakes recently too, right?
we did, yeah. There's been some small ones in SoCal, and it's funny. I'm seeing these articles pop up, like in California we've had a pandemic now, we've had the fires. What's next, right? And like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, how about the big earthquake? I'm like, God, no, please.
Jersey had an earthquake. We had a small
I
earthquake.
heard about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
In
yeah.
like Freehold, we had a small earthquake.
Oh my gosh,
Everyone's like,
insane,
"What's
man.
happening?"
This has been a wild year. Wild year.
2020 needs a break, man.
I'm ready for 2021, man. Hopefully it's
Oh.
better.
Yeah, it's just a crazy time. So
Yeah.
with all this, your adversity moment. What is some adversity you've been through your life that is part of you, part of your story now?
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, gone through quite a few challenges, right, in life, that have kind of shaped, who I am now, right? Whether it's kind of stuff on the personal end, stuff in the professional end, right? Stuff in school. I think, for me, like really, really big experience was kind of just being on my own for the 4 years in New York. Like kind of learning how do you live on your own? How do you be by yourself, right? How to learn to be comfortable with yourself. I'm a pretty social person, so I like to be doing stuff with other people, and big on family too, right? Love to hang out like with my siblings, with my parents, and all that, right? So kind of being far from them for quite a while, right? Having to kind of make new friends and meet new people. I think it really pushed me kind of out of my comfort zone.
Hmm.
I think to a point where I really got comfortable with myself. I got comfortable living in a big city, right? And yeah, obviously there were moments of where you felt lonely, and moments where you're like, should I have done this? Should I have stayed closer to home, right? I think that was definitely really a big part of kind of who I am now, is just being able to learn and grow on my own, right? Kind of go through those hard experiences on my own with maybe not like family to be there to kind of make it better, right? But just having to deal with it. I think that was really important. And now I feel ready to kind of tackle on any challenge, right? Whether it's you got to move somewhere else to live, right?
Hmm.
That was definitely big part of it. And I think even now, right, just in this pandemic, I mean, kind of seeing how it's been impacting colleagues and friends and family, right? And just seeing how life can change in an instant, right? I
Yeah.
think that really made me kind of look back and say, okay, like it's time for us to kind of focus more on the day to day, and enjoy
Yeah.
each experience, and not be trying to plan too far ahead. I'm
Yeah.
kind of someone who likes to, as I told you, right, just kind of plan things out and kind of be on
Yeah.
top of things. this really kind of forced me to, okay, I got to take a step back, right? And
Yeah.
I got to be able to enjoy any experience, good or bad, right? That happens
Yeah.
on each experience, So I think those have kind of been some of the biggest kind of life shapers so far for me. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there'll be plenty more. I just started
Yeah.
working too.
That's
I'm
just the
sure
reason. Yeah.
yeah,
But
face my fair share of professional challenges too.
yeah.
But I think those were kind of the big areas where I really kind of learned and was able to grow.
Yeah, but definitely, it shapes who you are now and tackling your new life now because that's what it is after college. It's
Yeah,
all you, right?
it's
That's
all
it.
you, exactly. And you're kind of in charge of your future, right? So it's all about what you put into it, right? And kind of how you want to look at things, right? You can either have like a very negative mindset when things go bad, right? Or you can look at it as, okay, like I'm still young, I'm still learning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit sucked, but it's
Yeah.
okay. Learn from it and move on.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I probably learned within, these past 2 years of, being out of college is being patient and letting things
Yeah.
work out. Because everyone wants to be successful now. Everyone wants to
Mhm.
understand their career now, right? But it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
process. It takes time to learn and
Time.
shape it and actually shape who you are too.
Exactly. And there's all this pressure nowadays, especially with social media, right? You're seeing, oh my God, this person got this promotion or this person, bought this car. Like, am I not working hard enough? Like, how come I'm not at that same level? So I think it's really important for people to kind of keep in mind that, what, like everybody has their own pace. Everybody has their own journey, right? And don't try to rush that process, right?
Hmm.
Like things are, I do like firmly believe that things happen for a very good reason, right?
Yes.
And I think, it kind of all goes back to just trust the process. The
Trust the
famous
process.
76ers slogan, right? I guess they're still trusting the process too. But I think that's a good life slogan too, right? Just trust the
Yep.
process and kind of stay strong.
Yep. Yep. Nothing good is rushed.
Exactly. Exactly.
Projects and in life, nothing good is rushed.
Success takes time, right? You just look at some of the key figures, right, in sports and politics and tech, right? I mean, these people took their time to get where they are, and just enjoy every experience on the way. Don't be just so focused on that end goal that you forget about, the 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 years that you spent trying to get there, right? Like,
Yeah.
make sure that you're taking it step by step.
Yep. Enjoying the journey. So
Exactly.
the accountability question, I always end with this question,
Yeah.
right? Who is Jasneel and what do you want to be known for? The who always changes, but the what makes you accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I think who is Jasneel? I mean, he's a growing and aspiring sports exec, right? With a passion for, making change. Okay. And that change can be on the business level, it can be on the social level. I think for me, what I've been seeing a lot lately is just, kind of the state of our world, right? And the things that are happening, right? It definitely pushes me to want to have an impact in some
Hmm.
way. And, what we learned about in our classes, right? About sports being having that power for change, right? Whether
Right.
it's social change or any kind of change, right? It kind of brings people together, and I think that's a power that hasn't fully been harnessed yet by
Hmm.
sports. I think, there've obviously been some great moments where,
Yeah.
sports has really kind of showcased that power. But for me, it's, how do I use that passion that I have, right? For sports, for business, for tech, how do I fuse those together to create change?
Yeah.
And I think that's really what I'm focusing on now. So that's really kind of what my who is, right?
Yeah.
And I guess also kind of what my what is, right?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
that could change, but I think, the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, right, are kind of helping me to get to that level, right? So
Get to the
obviously, now maybe I'm not working perhaps directly in the sports industry yet, right? But, I think that, having that experience right now that I'm having of being able to get exposure to tech, to business, and to sports, right? It kind of helps me to open my mind to new areas. And, when it's time for me to get a new job or find some new path, right, I can kind of use like what I've learned here in that journey, So
yeah.
I think, as we just said, right, baby steps, but for me, it's really, yeah, how do I harness that power of sports, for that change,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm hoping to kind
Yeah.
of be able to do
Right.
in my life.
Yeah, sports is becoming more than just a game now, now with
Yes,
all these
sir.
moving
Well
parts.
said.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's changing kind of any like matter, right? Whether it's social change or racial change or, just how we even just like live our lives, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess there's so much, power there, right? And it's really cool to kind of see that, as like that next gen, we really have
Yeah.
that power to shape it.
Yeah, because it's a big platform. Everyone's watching sports. It's
Exactly.
something we always talked about in class was, the only thing saving, TV is these sports, the live sports, right? Instead of going on
Yeah,
the apps
exactly.
and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And, as things keep changing, right? More of like this digital stuff and more online platforms and more social media, right? I mean, that power only grows much larger, right?
Right.
And your reach grows much larger, right? So I think, that's a really cool aspect of it.
Yeah. Even the gambling. Now they got. Remember that's
Yeah,
another thing
right.
we talked about. Now,
Sports betting, man.
now we
Like
can
when we
bet
started
sports anywhere.
college, right? That was like unheard of till
Yeah.
like 4 years later, right? And now it's like legal, right?
Yeah, I
It's
know
just
a lot of
crazy.
my buddies were trying to use my address in New Jersey and make some bets. I'm like, no, man, you gotta
Smart,
find another
smart.
address in Jersey. Now you can do it anywhere. That was the
Yeah,
biggest thing we learned early, and then now, boom,
I
right?
know, anywhere, man. And you'll start to see, right? That's gonna have a huge impact on sports. I mean, we're not seeing the full aspect of it now, but give it 5, 10 years, that's gonna be a big, big part of it.
Definitely. All right, my
Yeah.
man. I appreciate your time.
Of course. Great to catch up with you, man. Thank you
Definitely.
for having me. This was an
Yeah.
awesome conversation.
Yeah, definitely need a part two because we still didn't touch on a lot of things we touched on in
Yeah,
college. Like
for sure.
the other big thing that we touched on was the tickets, right? The secondhand ticket exchange, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Oh my God. There's so much we can talk about, dude.
Yeah,
Honestly, like with all these updates that we're seeing in sports,
yeah,
Yeah, man. I would love to be on
yeah.
sometime in the near
We got to
future.
have like a panel and have some more people on and get those ideas. I know Austin would love that too.
Yeah, man. I'm so down. We should
Yeah,
definitely plan it.
definitely. So where can people find you?
Yeah, man. So I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to add me, Jasneel Chaddha. More than happy to talk with anyone if you have any questions, want to learn more. I'm also, I would love to learn from you guys too. So please feel free to reach out. You can add me on Facebook as well, same name, Instagram, Twitter. It's like the same handle for all of
Yeah.
them. So feel free to reach out. More than happy to chat.
Slide in his DMs. Very knowledgeable person. I learned a lot from being in projects with you and groups with you, and I appreciate you, my man. Thank you.
And take care.
Do it.